Hey class, just taking some time to go over the week 12 learning resources. We do not have a lot of reading this week, but we will be focused on solution-focused therapy and comparative analysis. So you do have those two chapters in the Nichols book this week. I think you'll find solution-focused therapy a very practical approach. It's a brief therapy and there's a lot of really helpful concepts within it. You'll be watching a video from the media section this week of a solution-focused therapy session. And there are some very useful concepts. I know that even if I'm not using solution-focused therapy specifically, there are some interventions that I just find really helpful to practice, one of them being the miracle question, which you will see. Also, seeking exception. There's some really useful concepts even if you are not carrying out strictly solution-focused brief therapy. So in addition to the Nichols chapters, you will choose one of these two readings as well. Just some readings that will help to provide you with some extra knowledge of the solution-focused brief therapy. And we have the solution-focused therapy website as well as the video that I was referencing. One of your discussions this week will be on the video. It's showing solution-focused approach with marriage therapy. So this solution-focused therapy can be used in couples therapy, in individual therapy, and family therapy. It's a really great evidence-based approach. So as I mentioned, one of the discussions this week is on the video that you are watching. In the video, you'll see that the miracle question is asked. So the miracle question, it can be phrased in a variety of different ways, but it's basically like, if a miracle happened today, what would your life be like? I find myself, I ask this question a lot in therapy. I find myself, sometimes you need to educate clients on kind of your basis for asking the question. Not always, but I'll find a lot of feedback from my clients saying, well, a miracle's not going to happen, so what's the use in looking there? But it's really just a starting point. So you're looking for, what's their fantasy view of what they want for their life, and usually reality can fall just a couple steps behind that. So then there's a variety of useful follow-up questions that can be insight-provoking that you might ask. So in the first part of the discussion, you're just going to identify some of the questions that the therapist asked and what were your thoughts about those questions. What are in terms of the questions that the therapist asked in response to the miracle question. And then you are going to identify yourself 3 or more follow-up questions that you might have asked if you were the therapist in this case. Again, just looking at some questions that might be insight-provoking or help them work towards a solution, kind of problem-solving based questions, things like that you would be looking to reference there. It would be helpful if you would identify those 3 questions as well as what would your basis for asking that be, just kind of follow it up with some further explanation. I would appreciate that. And then you're going to look at 2 strengths and 2 possible limitations of the approach. There's limitations to any approach. Kind of look at this specifically in terms of work with couples. This, like I said, can be used as an individual approach as well as a couples and family approach. So I want you to be looking at this specifically in terms of work with couples. You are not required to have a response post for this discussion, but as usual, try to read a couple of different posts just to further your learning. Moving on to the next discussion for week 12, this is going to be in preparation for your final integrative case paper. So what you will be doing is you will be identifying a problematic episode from a past or present clinical case, preferably from your field work. I know, many of you have not had, some specific experience with work with families. So if it is really difficult for you to identify a case from past work, please reach out to me. We can kind of brainstorm some solutions, but some solutions off the top of my head would be to identify maybe a case from a book or a TV show or a movie, just so that you can have kind of a scenario in place for yourself to create a genogram, which you would be doing within this discussion. So just reach out to me if you don't have a clinical case that you can work off of, so that I can approve what you will be using for your problematic episode. Make sure that, if you are using a past clinical case, no identifying information. You can use aliases if you choose to. But you will be going through the process again like we had previously in creating a family genogram. So the resources that are from week 4 that you used to create the genograms initially for your first paper are listed here just for your review. And then you will be drawing the genogram with at least 3 generations. The one thing that I am asking from you, instead of just drawing the genogram, listing the people who are involved in the generations, I want you to definitely highlight at least 1 or 2 relational patterns, and you can find the symbols for that within the How to Make a Genogram video or the symbols resource, just so that we can see kind of the problems on paper. That's really one of the reasons that genogram is so useful. And then, as you had in your first genogram that you did for your original paper, I am asking that you draw it by hand, and then you can either take a picture of the genogram or scan it in as a PDF. Just make sure that the final product is legible. Then finally, you will be creating a post. So the post will include the genogram as an attachment, and then you will write a short assessment. It does not have to be long. This is not, your final paper, just a way to get things started. So just kind of discussing what your hypothesis is of the causes of the problem, life cycle issues, sociocultural issues, family strengths. In this section, just please make sure that you are referencing course material, just so that I can see that you're kind of looking at this from a theoretical approach. And then you're just kind of posting a reflection on what it was like creating the genogram. Was it easy? Was it difficult? Did you learn anything? Did it kind of highlight some patterns within the family that you hadn't recognized in the past? Things like that. And then this discussion does require a response for a classmate. Just kind of give some feedback to your classmate, specifically what are some things that you learned, anything that you might add. Sometimes fresh eyes can give a fresh perspective, so it might be helpful for your classmate. And with this post, the initial post is due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. and response posts are due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And again, as I mentioned before, this post will require some resources, so just be sure to use APA format and include your references. And then for your final discussion for week 12, you are simply going to be writing a reflection on the process of completing the family therapy theory grid as a group. Just kind of discuss some things that maybe you learned from this, some experiences that you had working together as a group. This can be general feedback for the course if based on whether or not you feel like it was a positive and helpful assignment or not. Or it can be, a reflection of your process in learning as well. Preferably both, but really there's no requirements for this particular reflection, just kind of trying to view some of your ideas and your thoughts about the assignment. And then you are not required to post a response post for this discussion. So that's all we have for week 12. As usual, reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Specifically, I know that the second discussion that we discussed, which is kind of an introduction to your final paper, is one that might require a bit more discussion, and I am more than happy to meet for a Zoom meeting or discuss with you via email or message through Canvas. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me with any questions or concerns, or even if you are trying to kind of get a better idea of what the problematic episode that you're going to focus on might be, or the client case scenario. I'm available to answer and discuss that with you. So yeah, so reach out, and I hope everyone has a great week.